All right, it's finally here, our first edition of Snow Talk on the blog. Sometimes it will be a written blog, and sometimes it will be a video blog like you're seeing here tonight. But at least one of my blog posts every day will be an update to Snow Talk and let you know the stats for the season and let you know what I'm looking at into the next 2 weeks. Keep in mind, our official forecast, though, that is going to be our official stance from the Way 3 News Storm Tracking Team, will take place during our TV newscast and on our Way 3 Weather Facebook page. So make sure to check that out when it comes to our official thoughts on a system moving through. This blog is mainly for entertainment, if you will. It's our chance to really engage you snow lovers out there that really want to know how things are looking. If there's going to be any chance for a snowfall, if you're a big snow lover like yours truly, then this is the place for you. And for scientists, enthusiasts that love to see how things evolve with the weather and climate, then this is a good place to check out. This will be your snow headquarters for the winter season, as we'll be doing Snow Talk all the way through the spring. So we've done this all 4 years I've been here. This year we're going to enhance it a little better to make it a little more easier to understand, hopefully, and more information for you guys, certainly. But keep in mind, these are just hypothetical situations we're talking about in the models and kind of give my thoughts on it. And doesn't always mean it's going to pan out that way, but at least it's something to look at, and it's fun to kind of track and see how it evolves, how a storm system we see 2 weeks down the road, when it gets to us and it still looks the same way. That's intriguing, and that does add a lot of credibility to how some of our forecast models are trying to get better at picking out systems long-term in advance. It is hard to do when it comes to chaos theory. It does not happen that way easily. So, but it is fun at least to see how it evolves. So let's get right to it. Let me start you off with the stats as of the season so far. A trace of snow. We all know that happened on Halloween. Normal to date actually would be 1/10 of an inch of snow, but those records are kind of skewed because we don't have a lot of snow events since the 1800s to go by for late October, early November. So that does seem a little high, but nevertheless, I think a trace is about right on cue. Last year we were at a trace for season to date because we had a trace of snow on the 24th of October last year, earlier than this year. On normal date, as you see there, to get a trace of snow should not happen until the 15th of November. Our first 1/10 of an inch, which we consider measurable snow, not until the 7th of December. First 1 inch snow on the 26th, the day after Christmas, and our first winter storm, which is where we classify winter storm as 4 inches or more, would be on the 19th of January. We'll keep an eye on those stats each and every day. As far as what we're looking at down the road, 3 issues I'm going to examine on this post. Thursday, a rain to rain snow mix. Doesn't look to be a big deal. We'll look at that though. Saturday night, a few flurries. And for Monday, or actually November, I should say, 10th through the 12th, there's a chance for a system that I'll engage some thought into as well. Before we get into that, at least do a quick update on the short term. We got some high clouds moving in. They're not acting as much of a blanket for us at all, so it's going to be a cold night tonight. Not as cold as last night, but not much warmer either. So it's going to be chilly out there for tomorrow morning, so keep that in mind. No more frost and freeze alerts for Kentuckiana. Those are now across the Carolinas. We will not see those anymore here until the spring, since our growing season has now ended. Our next weather maker is actually in New Mexico and Texas. This plume of moisture, showers developing, even some thunderstorms. Got a warning out in the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. This moisture plume heading our way should arrive election day and election night. We'll get into all that in a second. First off, I do want to broaden out the scale quite a bit here. You're looking at the northern hemisphere. Here's Kentucky on the map right here. And you got the North Pole in this area. You've got Europe. You've got Asia, and you've got Japan, all in this area. So we're looking at the northern hemisphere, and we can kind of see what's happening in other parts, because they do have a tendency to cause a cause and effect relationship with each other. We call that a teleconnection when we see these kind of effects. Now you're seeing some bright purples and pinks right over the North Pole. This should tell us, for you scientists, enthusiasts out there, this should tell us that the Arctic Oscillation, AO, would be positive. The core of the cold air is across areas of the north, got a high pressure control across areas surrounding it. This is where the core of the polar vortex would be, if you will. You can see it's just very low pressures across the areas of the Arctic Oscillation. So we have a tendency to get more warmer spells that try to move in when we see that happen. Now let me advance this map. This is the European model, by the way. Looking ahead about the next 7 to 14 days. We see a change. Notice that the pressures actually rise over the North Pole. This should signal a negative AO, negative Arctic Oscillation. This means the polar vortex breaks free from its spot, its little nest that it has in the North Pole. When the AO goes negative, it's on the move, and it breaks into pieces. It looks like the strongest piece would likely impact areas of Siberia based on this particular model run, but other little small chunks break free, and they try to break out in different areas. And one of those is trying to move into Canada and the northern tier of the United States. And that is going to cause some model mayhem with that kind of a setup. Here's the Arctic Oscillation on the European model. Sure enough, it is showing it tanking as we headed to the first 12 to 14 days of November. This was the dip it took around Halloween, and we got that cold snap that is now leaving us. You see where we're going now. We've been climbing. High pressure is building in across areas of Canada. Low pressure over the pole. That is telling us that we're going to see a warming trend start, and sure enough, we're seeing that, some 60s. But you see what's happening down the road here. The models are trying to indicate we're going to see a drop. Now, these little legs here are other model members of the actual European model itself, we call this, or we call this an ensemble. So not all of them agree, but majority of them do show a negative trend here below the normal line into negative territory. When we look at the GFS, same thing. As I mentioned, there was a dip around Halloween. We saw the effects of that when it came to our recent cold snap that we just went through. You see it's also trending toward a negative period as we head into the beginning first 2 weeks here of November. So there's support here on the European and the GFS for a trend for higher pressure over the pole, which would mean the cold air chunks are on the move in lower latitudes. Let me break it down for you for the actual weather result then. Here we go. This is election night into Wednesday. That moisture we saw in New Mexico. Let me change my wand here so you can see the color a little better. Hold on one second. Sorry about this. I'll change it to red. There we go. How's that? All right. We saw this moisture plume across areas in New Mexico. Well, that's going to move over us as we head into election night into Wednesday. It's slow moving though. As that is happening, there is going to be another vort that's going to drop down across areas of Canada. You see it right here with some rain, snow showers in Iowa. It is going to combine with this front and create a loop-de-loop, my new favorite weather term, and form a low pressure on it over areas of Pennsylvania. So when we headed to Thursday night into Friday, you see that low pressure form then over areas of Ohio. It's trying to then bring in some wraparound moisture around it. That moisture plume, the front itself is east of us, but the loop-de-loop, the black lash effect here of that low begins to be felt. So there could be just enough cold air. It does not look to be the same kind of setup exactly as we went through on Halloween because this system is moving east. The last one was moving south. It was diving, and that's why it was so dramatic. This one's not exactly the same scenario. This is literally going to be just a backlash cold snap on the back end here. So maybe just a few flakes, not an accumulating event the way it looks right now. Best chance for that to be closer to the core of the low itself, which would be in Ohio. But our northern county, especially around, say, Trimble, heading to Jennings County, Indiana, you could see some snowflakes certainly mixed in. The more south you are, the lesser that chance will be. Then as we into this weekend, the GFS and European differ a little bit for Saturday and Sunday. It does look like another wave will come through here. They differ, though, in the amount of moisture that's going to be available with that as it passes through. So I wouldn't be surprised it could squeeze out a few flurries in the Ohio Valley. I just don't know if it's really going to impact us really a whole lot. In fact, there is going to be some rain. Here's the wave part of that. It'll be on Saturday. It's going to be mainly Saturday night and early Sunday that the second little piece could give us maybe a few flakes. Right now I'm keeping it out of the forecast until I see better agreement. If this were to stay locked in, by the way, this trough would, this would be our clipper right here that would dive down. But that doesn't happen. We actually push this cold air back out pretty rapidly, so this will not be a factor for us thereafter. But it's interesting to see that on the models. And then we go ahead into the farthest I can go here on the European, which is going to take us all the way out to about the 12th of November. And you see it's picking up a decent area of low pressure over areas of Tennessee. And it's got a piece of that polar vortex, a piece of it, not the polar vortex. Let's not get crazy here with terminology. Anyway, a piece of it across Canada is sending some colder air on the backside. So it'll be interesting to see how this evolves. I do think there's going to be a decent storm crossing the country between the 10th and the 12th of November. We'll see how it plays out. So nothing big showing up right now in the models that is going to be a definite concern for us. There's just a few minor things, but it does. It's much more than I really was expecting for November. I thought we'd have much more in the way of warming trends here on the models and warm spells. But this AO tanking like it is, and the pressure's flipping over the pole, there's no doubt you're going to have an active storm track, and you're going to have some cold air to work with. So we're going to shake up November quite a bit. So here it is on the 7 day. You see the rain and warmth there for Tuesday. there's that mix possibility on that loop-de-loop there on Friday. And again, I'm going to keep it at just all rain on Saturday until I see how that's going to play out for the weekend. And then we'll worry about the 10th to the 12th of November. We'll look at that tomorrow, and we'll see how it looks. So there you have it, your first edition of Snow Talk, and I'm out of time. Gotta go. See you later.